So I just got back to work from the NCCA conference 2024 up there in Richmond, Virginia, and brought home a pottery wheel from Batui, ceramic company in Jingzhen, China. They asked me to give it a review, so let's unbox it first. Standard packaging, coming out pretty heavy-duty cardboard. Let me bring the camera up to show y'all. We got a support for the wheel head. Bat pin's already installed. And it looks like a 14-inch wheel head. We've got some tools here. Let's start with that. Set this back up so y'all can see. Okay, here we go. Allen keys and the foot pedal come separate. There's a great big wrench. We'll get to the instructions here in a minute. So the first thing is covered in plastic, keeps the travel dust off of it. Whole cardboard comes off like that. And we are left with just the wheel. There's the splash pan underneath, supported on slats of wood. There we go. Really tightly machined, looks like. Still has some textured grooves. I don't know if y'all can hear that. The bat pins are held on with wing nuts. There you go, there's a disc down here that looks like the flange where the splash pan is going to slide on. There's our set screw. That must be what that large wrench is for. Maybe the whole wheel head comes off to put the splash pan on. It doesn't come apart. No, it comes apart. So there's half the splash pan. Oh, I will say that's pretty nice. It's got integrated magnets in the splash pan, so it holds it together. That feature is actually quite nice. Okay, so let's get another view of that. And we get a magnet closure just like that. So, first off, I guess I'm already impressed with that from a teaching perspective. I've got students, so in my classroom I've got a bunch of Brents. I personally have a Scut and I'm pretty loyal to Scut. In my classroom I have a bunch of Brents, and the splash pans are the one challenge I run into most with the students, but that's pretty cool. Pretty cool idea. So again, magnets right there, both sides of the splash pan. It looks like they are in fact held in place. Let's get the camera focus there. Anyway, so they're actually behind plastic, so they're not going to come slipping off of there. So this is the underside of the wheel. It's pretty well enclosed. Got some ventilation here. I'm not going to go through and take off that shroud. It's just Phillips head screws. But from what I've heard, it's an electromagnet similar to the Shimpos. We've got some adjustable height legs ready to go. That's what that other Allen key must be for. Now that we've got it open, let's look at the instruction manual. So here we go. There's the big Allen key for the wheel head. There's the smaller one. So first thing I noticed, these set screws have a lock washer integrated into it, which is nice. That way they're not going to work themselves loose over time. Okay, let's see. Looks like they go all the way into that leg. So let me get my hands free here. Okay, so there's the holes. The adjustable height, that was on the low setting. Go ahead and put it on the tall setting. So I made sure not to get them cross-threaded, but it feels like I'm actually cutting through the powder coating or the paint here. They're not going in super easily. Alright, that was extending the leg. Let's move on to the foot pedal. Foot pedal comes bagged separately. It's pretty lightweight. It has this grip on it. There's a tread. It looks pretty, I don't know if fragile is the right word. I mean, it's metal. It's not a plastic pedal. The foot is plastic and the tread is a little bit softer plastic. But the pedal and the housing itself is metal. We'll see how it goes. There's the connection end, and then this is just a plug-in like you might have for your laptop or something. But there's the plug-in, and we'll match it up. There's a registration groove on it. Plug that guy in. Plug it down. Looks like that's a reset right there. So that's tight, and a separate cable running for power, just like so. So got power supply, foot pedal. Here's the model number. Oh man, that's blurry. Okay, well, I'll read it to you. Advertised rotation speed is up to 300 RPM, 110 volts, and net weight is 37 kilos. But let me go ahead and get these legs extended the rest of the way, and we'll try it out, see how it actually performs. One thing I'll note, so I'm in the middle of my last leg extension, and the legs are rock solid once both set screws are actually installed. But you can see that bare metal, so that would be, I think, a point of concern over time. Is that would be a vulnerable point during cleanup. You know, if water were to get in there and then stay inside the foot, that could lead to some rusting in there if you didn't have careful students, which I would say maybe only a few of my students would count as careful. And then now that I'm looking down here, we've got some weld joints that are, you know, maybe acceptable, but not fully welded all the way, kind of tacked in place. Like this is 1, 2, 3 tacks. Like if you got somebody already welding down here, 1, 2, 3 tacks, if you tack it twice and run a bead, you know, I'm not a great welder, but I can do okay. You know, that doesn't to me seem marginally like that much more effort to make it a stronger product. And again, too, maybe it doesn't matter. So as far as like economy of construction, I would say pretty good, but you know, depends on how good the powder coating is. I live here in Florida. It's just sort of generally humid all of the time. So, you know, just kind of things I'm noticing as I'm working on it underneath of it, taking a good look at it. Okay, so now you can take a look at the instruction manual. Super thin, which I don't mind. You know, a wheel's pretty straightforward. So they advertise the weight capacity, 132 pounds of clay. After a certain point, the weight capacity is kind of irrelevant. Like those big scuts I throw on, they can handle, I think the biggest piece I've thrown was 170 pounds. But really that's not gonna come into your day-to-day. It is reversible, noise less than 39 decibels. Wheel head is 13.8 inches, so I was right, 14 inch. Net weight 81 pounds? I don't know. It didn't feel like 81 pounds. It might have been. Okay, basically put it in a pottery studio. Don't put it in a pottery studio. It can't be damp, can't be dusty. It's got to be level. Evidently, there's an emergency brake switch. So I'll have to look at that. Basically, once it's going, it says don't cut the power supply. It's an electromagnetic drive, and evidently that'll damage it. It doesn't say what the wheel head is made out of, but it might not be aluminum, it might be steel. It talks about cleaning it immediately to avoid corrosion. So if it is a steel wheel head, that would not be ideal. Oh, okay, here it is. Yeah, aluminum plate. So, yeah, the wheel head's aluminum. Okay, well, this looks pretty straightforward. Here's the components. It's a direct drive motor is what they call it. Little inspection record, little service record, and that's it. So, that is the BTH pottery wheel. Unboxed, legs extended, and splash pan installed. And I'm looking forward to trying this thing out. So I'll let you know how that goes. So this will be the 1-year review on the BTH wheel. It's been at the high school where I teach and now at a community studio, and we've got a few notes, but overall pretty successful. So let's dive into those notes. The first is here, the deck of the wheel. The splash pan works great, no issues there. Magnet closure held up fine. But the actual deck, if there's any spills or the water bucket or anything like that, or tools with no lip, the tools have a tendency to roll off, or if water spills, it just rolls off onto the floor. Whereas the Brents have this lip here, and then the Scuts have an even better splash pan kind of situation, where it's all inclusive. And this one here, you know, it's just kind of a day-to-day use note, not a problem with the actual function. And then the other note was here, the foot pedal is fine, but with as steep of an angle when you go to set your foot down, if it's on concrete, before you get to engage the wheel, there's this slide that happens. And so a little bit of a heavier foot pedal or a shallower angle of approach on that foot pedal would kind of reduce that. But other than that, the cord down here comes apart kind of easily. From moving it around, it comes unplugged. It's not hardwired into the machine. But overall, a pretty satisfactory beginner's wheel. I'm still, of course, partial to Scuts, but if this is in your budget, at least this one here is worthwhile. It's nice. Again, a few notes, but other than that, pretty good.